With Payday 3 being in the gutter and currently in the process of being patched into a more playable state, alongside a war breaking out on Twitter between multiple different parties, myself and many others have been doing either one of three things. The first being venturing off to other co-op shooter titles who have done a much better job when it comes to not just launching their games, but also when it comes to supplying the players with content and fixes at a rapid pace. The second one being returning to Payday 2, with 10 years of updates on his back. It's still by far the superior heisting game on the market, despite its many flaws. More recently being the infamous issue circulating the game right now with the crashing caused by dominated units, which still has yet to be fixed. And thirdly, the route I've gone down, which has simply been me doing somewhat of a Payday detox. I haven't felt any sort of desire or inspiration to make any kind of content on the game. However, despite me revisiting other titles to check up on their progress, my heisting withdrawal symptoms kept kicking in. I just needed one more big score. And with my complete dedication on a Payday detox, the timing couldn't be any better, as crime boss Rockay City recently dropped their 8th update to the game, which introduces reworks to the progression system, perks, new weapons, levels, and a bunch more. I know what you're already thinking. Isn't this game supposed to be, like, really bad? At launch, kinda, but hey, at least it worked. Now, just over a year has passed since its initial release, and honestly, I can safely say what's written in the title of this video. Crime boss Rockay City is actually a good game now. This is not some kind of out-of-season April Fool's joke. I'm being deadly serious. I have to give credit where credit is due and applaud in-game studios for sticking with this game. Although the launch was way below average, I can safely say that slowly throughout the past year, they have been cooking. Consistent updates with small hotfixes in between significant content drops has shown the team's commitment to this game. And make no mistake, this game always had glimpses of great ideas and potential, it just lacked the execution. And after jumping back in with Update 8 and revisiting it a year later, you can slowly start to see the team's ideas come together. Instead of simply going over the newest update and calling it a day, I wanted to actually go over and highlight some of the implementations and changes that have come to Crime Boss over the span of the year, and really show off this game a little bit in what it does well, and in some ways better than its current competition. I'll be going over both the good, the bad, and the Feel free to use the timestamps below to skip to whichever portion you care the most about. So with that intro out of the way, get your Travis Baker dancing shoes on and let's jump back into Rockay City as I go over why Crime Boss is a good game now. For those uninitiated, Crime Boss Rockay City is a co-op heisting shooter set in the 90s, launched in March of last year. Immediately upon release, it received an awful reception from players and critics alike for its very basic and subpar gameplay, awful game design, lack of direction, repetitive and below average music, a cringe-worthy plotline and story, if you could even call it that, packaged with an absolutely diabolical level of acting amongst a quote-unquote star cast lineup, alongside a boatload of other underlying issues regarding performance, replayability, and quality of life issues. Fast forward just over a year later, the game has received the labour of love by the devs, who have stuck by the game, slowly improving it in the avenues that matter the most. Additional content in the forms of new heists and weapons, both paid and mostly free. Quality of life improvements, new game modes, revamping progression, interesting tweaks and adjustments to the gameplay in both loud and stealth, and an AI overhaul, just to name a few things. So yeah, it's safe to say the game has undeniably gotten better over the course of a year. And after jumping back into Rockay City, I can confidently say that I've been having a really enjoyable time with it. Kicking things off with what you first see when you boot up the game, the menu. You have the option to jump straight into the action with quick play, which will have you join a random lobby for a 20% bonus reward incentive. Jump into the campaign, which has had a bunch of changes in itself since launch. Or launch the multiplayer and start your own lobby. There's also a progression tab too, which will show you what you have unlocked and what you have yet to unlock in this game. Speaking of progression, in the most recent update, it has been completely overhauled. You now have an account level which you level up by completing heists. Each level grants you one of 3 unlockables you can choose from. It's very similar to Payday 2's Pick 3 system after every heist. What makes this fun is the fact that it's randomized every single time. So each level you'll be offered something new to purchase. It's a simple and sweet way of progressing, and it keeps you playing to try out new toys and simply earn the funds to purchase one of the many unlockables in the game, ranging from weapons to perks and character appearances. And to do so, you of course need to play heists to earn money to unlock them. So now, let's talk about them, shall we? Heists in this game range in terms of length, from quick armored truck jobs to robbing car dealerships, to banks, to even bigger banks, hell, to even yachts. The game has a nice variety of what it is that scratches your heisting itch. Do you want a quick in and out kind of job, like an armored transport or a jewelry job? Sure. Do you want a bog standard bank heist? Sure. Do you want a lengthy mission jam-packed with holding off waves of police and intense high-octane escapes? Absolutely. Usually I would complain about the lengths of some of these heists, as some of them are shorter than others. However, the ease of simply getting into a game as it's peer-to-peer makes everything much easier and nicer. I can very quickly hop from heist to heist with ease, as the ease of play is very high here. Also, the RNG elements within the levels really do help when it comes to switching things up and making each playthrough feel fresh. From objective placements to even full-on environment shuffles and changes. There's even a shuffle mode you can play now, which randomizes each heist you play, and you can choose if you want to play a short, medium or long amount of heists, which in the end nets you a huge cash rewards for your efforts. It's kind of like a crime spree in some sense. You also have urban legends, which are short mini stories where you'll play through a sequence of heists as specific characters. Although these suffer from the same writing and acting woes as usual in the cutscenes, it's still a nice refreshing way of playing the game. Overall though, I just really appreciate how easy it is to just jump in and simply play a game. For comparison, I can play about 2 heists in Crime Boss, whereas some poor sod in Payday 3 is currently in a matchmaking queue just to play 1. It speaks volumes as to how the devs have prioritized the player's overall ease of play experience, which makes playing each heist a very enjoyable time. Now, let's touch upon gameplay. Like other heisting games, you can tackle a lot of heists in both loud and stealth. Both ways of playing are just as fun and are backed up nicely with some really amazing changes to the AI, which I will touch upon in a bit. Besides your bog standard running and gunning in a loud approach where you can place drills and vaults, bag loot and escape with the goods, you can also opt for a more covert approach in stealth, which although isn't perfect and very easily exploitable, brings a heap of fresh ideas to the table. On the top right you have 3 warnings which will trigger the alarm if you go over that limit. You can avoid getting spotted by simply staying out of the view of guards and cameras, and also for not acting dodgy in certain areas, like sprinting, crouching, picking locks, etc. I personally like the way this warning system is handled. However, like I discussed before, it's very easily exploitable. You see, when you take out a camera or a guard, for example, you'll get a warning for doing a suspicious action. However, subduing a guard prevents you from being detected. It gets that guard on the ground where you can tie them up and they won't make a sound. If you were to infiltrate the cam room, you can easily access the security monitor and switch off all of the cameras, which once again doesn't trigger a warning. What this essentially means is that once the cams are down, stealth is essentially a cakewalk, as you can just subdue every guard you see if you get behind them. On the flip side, you can also argue that it rewards smart players who have cracked the code when it comes to the stealth mechanics in this game. Gadgets like the camera blinder that you can bring on a heist are also another classic example of this when it comes to trivializing this style of play. But with all that being said, I think it's safe to say that there are some really cool features here, and the way the team has tackled a sneaky approach to the heisting is definitely in the right direction. I'm very looking forward to see what other features they implement going forward in the future. The AI gets its own section because it puts its competition to shame. They did an AI overhaul throughout the year and it seriously paid off massively. And I just have to gush about it for a minute. AI doesn't just simply carry bags for you. They tie up civilians in stealth and get them on the ground. They locate, smash and grab loot, bag it up and also take it to the van all on their own. They're not perfect by any means, and trust me, I've experienced some really weird things when it comes to my AI teammates being stuck in midair. But if you're a solo player and choose to add bots to your lobby, Yes, you can even choose if you want bots or not, and you can even choose the number of bots you want. You'll have a great time and will feel truly immersed in the heisting fantasy. Now, I've done nothing but praise this game. That must mean one of two things. One, I'm a paid shill, or two, the game's perfect, right? No, not at all. The game has some gaping flaws that have still been prevalent since launch, and I'm not going to end this video until I address them. Starting off with, of course, the acting and the dialogue. Good God, what a train wreck this is.
Better start practicing your end zone dance, because we're going to be there often. See you in the end zone, mofo!
Yeah, the voice acting is terrible. Like, really terrible. Some might put it in the category of it being so bad it's good, or the cope could also be that it's meant to be a cheesy 90s movie style of acting. Whichever excuse you want to come up with, it's not a good one. Although, I must admit, some of the characters have grown on me a little bit as to how god-awful the writing is. And I guess if you don't take the game so seriously, you'll not care. But no, in all seriousness, the writing and dialogue is just straight up bad. I'm glad that the heisters talk to each other and communicate during a heist as to what's going on, but I appreciate a better script for it more. Oh, and the next time you decide to hire these celebrities, make sure they actually give a shit and have some good acting chops. Whenever I hear Chuck Norris speak as the sheriff, I can't help but burst out laughing as to how shockingly bad he is as an actor.
Hey, they should protect the
Sky, fucking sky, you motherfucker.
The music is straight up garbage. It's low effort, cheap, and unbearably loops with some really awful melodies and chord progressions. Sure, they have some classic 90s hits in here,
Freestyler.
but for the most part, you're best off switching off the music entirely and just playing your own. The only somewhat decent music here in the game is the menu music and the music you hear when you load into the heist, but it's very short-lived. And there are still some really annoying bugs that I keep running into during my sessions. From my HUD not showing up when I'm starting a heist, to my game simply freezing on activating an objective, to straight up unspeakable levels of wizardry of teleportation in certain heists. Every game has bugs, I guess, but some of these issues really frustrate me for the most part, as they were genuinely game-breaking. Which is sad because I've overall had a very good time in this game. Which brings me to my final thoughts upon revisiting Crime Boss Rockay City. The game overall is very fun to play compared to its launch state. I can confidently say that it's gone from a 3 out of 10 at launch to honestly, a strong 6 out of 10 in its current state. I am genuinely intrigued to what's next for the game, and I'll be keeping a close eye on Crime Boss and its future updates. It's just unfortunate that the game is an Epic Store exclusive. I know, get your booze out. In its current state, if they were to re-release this on a more superior platform such as Steam, in its current state, I think players would give it a shot and be thoroughly surprised. Especially us heisting game fans that have been recently let down by other titles. If they were to do some sort of limited time discount with maybe even a free-to-play period to get some more players on board with a re-release, I could see it doing alright. But for now, ladies and gents, that is where the video is going to end. What are your thoughts on Crime Boss? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave your comment below and tell me how stupid I am, but for now, keep coping, as Crime Boss Rockay City is a good game now, and I'm looking forward to its future. Thanks for watching, everyone. Leave a like and subscribe if this video bakered your Travis, and I'll catch you all very soon.
See you in the end zone, mofo!